Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus Three Futures and Commodities show. We are recording at about 2:30 on Friday, August 9th. My name is Ben Maldonado. As always, I'm here with my partner, Barry Hederachi. And on today's show, the initial panic is over, and we're going to try and review the charts and show you the levels to help us decipher what comes next. Quite the week, Barry, as you and I were just talking about. A lot of action in Globex on Sunday night, more than normal. And now
Absolutely.
we're sort of in the eye of the hurricane, if you will. It's calm, it's quiet, but what's coming next?
Well, I wouldn't say more of the same as this week, but let's take a look at that. Let's see where we are and how we got here. So we left off last week. We had a couple of levels. We had 5,200 and of course 5,107, 5,104, and the E-mini got fairly close to that support level. And I'll show you where else it got close to on the weekly chart. But anyway, we were looking for some kind of a low to come in and a bounce, and we got the low and a bounce. If the market was actually super weak, we wouldn't have been able to get above 53.10. And the fact that we were able to get above and sort of hold above today, it's a positive sign in that sense, in the sense of where we ended up on the square. So we'll take it from there.
I mean, you see it as a sign that the initial wave is over, and now we're trying to decipher how high we're going to bounce. Is that a fair assessment, or what's your feeling
Well,
after we've seen this low?
yeah, well, I don't know if it's just a V. Like we always think in terms of like, okay, we have a low, next thing should be just another high. But the thing is, we have all, oftentimes we get just like we had for the rest of the week, we have all this sideways movement.
Hmm.
And so I think we might get a little bit more of that. So we have to take into the sort of the corrective pattern, see what kind of a pattern that emerges out of this. But I think the low is close enough. And I'll tell you what I mean by close enough when we look at the weekly chart. And I think the easy way to proceed is keep an eye on 53.10 basis the daily. And, as long as we're above that, we can kind of expect it to at least go up and test the cluster up here at 54.35 basis the E-mini. I think that's the upside we can expect for it to go up and test. It's a easy target. So let's take it apart. I think the fact that we could get above 53.10 was a big deal, and
Hmm.
what that means is, I mean, look at the way that we normally look at the bars. So we have Friday's bar. Now, if we take out Friday low on Monday, we have a reversal, right?
Hmm.
We took out the low of the high bar.
Hmm.
And just so happens if we actually take it out, then we also get back under 53.10. So when I talk about that, that's what I mean. We have the 53.10 is important. We have the low coming in at 53.19. So between the two, if we take the 19 out, it wouldn't be difficult to take out 53.10. And if we get stuck under that, then I think that's it. We're done there.
Yeah, and also you got that ABC of around 54.20 area that will complete off the low.
Yes, I saw that. Yep.
And so that's up there. So they might be able to a little bit higher. We'll see.
They could, but the thing to watch from here on is to see if we get some kind of a reversal up in here as we get to these levels, right? So if
Hmm.
Monday we take out today's low, well, we talked about that. And if we make a higher high and a higher low on Monday, then we have the Monday low to watch. You see what I'm saying? Now we can start watching the lows basis the daily to see where we might get a reversal. And if it comes up at a key level, for example, like close to 54.33, that
Hmm.
reversal might carry a little bit more weight, just like,
Right.
we normally talk about these levels.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. So that's what I think. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. It's really 53.10 is the key level to watch. And if we end up making a higher low on Monday, Tuesday, then we're just going to have to go with that and watch for the reversal. Now we have levels on the 30 minutes, so we're a lot more zoomed in actual actual trading, but this is just an overview basis, the daily. And that said, let's jump on to the weekly, not the weekly, Dow really quick. So we dropped this trend line in last week, and the entire week held right on top of that. Didn't quite to get to our sort of drop dead trigger level. And so just like we talked about for the S&P, you talked about the ABCD having room to run. So here, we have 40,170 as the upper boundary, right? We're 180 degrees from the low last September. So we have sort of a marker for the Dow. And if we just happen to take out Monday low, then we have a reversal. So we have basically a 1-day pullback if we don't count the inside bars. And that would be pretty weak. But we're watching to see if we can hold, using the S&P, we're watching to see if we can hold those levels. So looking at the cash, you can see how, that 5310 level I was talking about is really 50% of the square is right here. 5,300 exactly. So that's really, I will go with that. That's really the level to watch. And the cash low was 5,384. So let's just erase the 84. It's basically 53. So you can imagine if the today's low goes on Monday, not only do we get, have a reversal, we also take out the 50%. So that's something to watch. Just something to note, the low on Monday came in on a quarter of the square exactly. You see that?
Yep.
And I remember talking about how 5/8 is sort of a normal move for the S&P. And I remember pointing to these gray lines when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
So this is how we kind of use the markers, So we had the 5/8 movement. All right. And we bounced. Okay. So we have to sort of notice that. Let's take a quick look at the 30-minute just to wrap up this section. We had the price action from Sunday night. And, after that low came in at 51.20, we basically managed to stay above 51.79. These numbers, I think we had these did we have these last week? I can't remember.
I think so.
Because I had to change the square for two reasons. One, the volatility. Two, we were getting a little bit too far out from the September lows.
Yeah,
the old
that's true.
lows. So I moved it up. I moved the square up to the July high.
Highs.
And it works just fine because we caught that high.
And
so anyway, when you catch that 270 degrees down, it would be 51.79. And practically most of the week, we were within the square. And the 52.75 we talked about last week, those numbers didn't change. The 52.75 we talked about last week became sort of the balance point for the week, sort of mean reversion, clearly, and also a balance point, because once you got on top of it, you can kind of trade up into the top of the square. If you get under it, you can trade towards the bottom of the square. It happened over here also. And so this is a very tight week, especially because we kind of moved all along the square. But not that it's a small range, it's a huge range, but we managed to cover that. So I feel like this area is sort of a done deal, and we need to sort of break the square, either at the 180 level up here, or we need to come back down and take out the 270 level and go down and finish it up. But looking at the price action, it looks, we're making higher lows through here. Yeah, expanding triangle, like we often talk about. Yeah, the expanding triangle. And one thing to remember with expanding triangles is, boy, if we take out one of these lines, the market will really run. So watch out for that. And the comments today was if we can hold above 53.10, then we'll have a shot at, 5400, 5406 here to be precise. And I wouldn't, if we can get that far, I wouldn't pass up 54.48. We can easily get to that target also on the same swing. You know what I mean? If we can hold above 5360.
And you can see it's battling right there right now as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, here it held up for a bit on the way down on the 2nd, and then, we tapped it on the 7th, and here we are. This is sort of the grind I kind of hinted at. If we can hold above this, we're going to sort of try to grind it through it. So it looks like we can. So let's watch it. But 5360 is is a level to watch. Anything you want to add to that 30 before I go on to the?
Nope, looks good. That 5360 is a solid number.
So here's the weekly. And I think the biggest thing for me is we almost finished the measured move box, this gray box that I put in
Yeah.
a couple of 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
And does it have to go exactly to the low? Well, yeah, it could. Would it be ideal? Yes. Is this close enough? Yeah, I think
Right. Right.
so. Yeah, it's close enough. But are we out of the woods? I would say no. So we'll watch that. But all this square is really only here to show you that we more or less did a normal correction. Okay, that's what this is. Now, if you guys want to look at an example of how this could work out, I mean, not this one, but how normally these corrections work out. Take a look at the box we put up here in 22. And when this high came in, I remember dropping this first box and saying, hey, that's the measured move. The low should be coming here. And you can see right there, this bar, let me put a crosshair on here, did the same thing. It didn't quite get to the close off the the exact level, but it put a little spacing just like we did this time. Went out for 2 weeks, rolled over, it came back and actually completed. Running a little bit over this measured move is okay. And then we ran up again and then went back into the second. And what we talked about at the time was, hey, if we take out these lows, we're going to go double, which is exactly what happened,
Yep.
And
I do remember that.
yeah, and that helped us, isolate this low. We started here and we jumped onto here. So that's kind of how it works, how we use it to help us understand if the move is, do we have more to go, or is that it? Anyway, that's it for the weekly. We did have this 90-week high. So again, this is not a small deal, and we could have a lot more downside, but let's take it, week at a time at this point. Anything you want to add, Ben?
No, I think that's good.
Because really, I mean, another way is, we always talk about counter trends. So if we look at that, we had the first counter trend here, then we have another one, and this would end up being the third one if it happens to be that. So we'll watch it. We'll watch for it and see. First two are like the best, lowest risk. But as the move gets, a little bit old, we don't know. This might be done. Like I said, 5100, 5104 got close enough. We saw the measured move on the other side. We saw the Dow holding exactly along the lows. You know what I mean? Like we had enough evidence to say, okay, we could get a bounce, but until this high gets taken out, we really want to watch to see if the move will have, if we're going to start making higher lows, which is what we really want to know next, or are we continue to make lower highs, right?
Exactly. That's the big question.
So we'll watch all of that. So now it's a little bit complicated, meaning getting the high was easy, following through was easy. Now, when the move is a little bit mature, we really want to watch the next legs and pick and choose how we want to act, because maybe on the next pullback, we might want to buy. And also, if it lines up correctly, this could be a sell. So, and it's clearly below the 1 by 1. So it's still, the trend is down, and structurally the trend is down. So let's keep all of that in mind. And if you guys like our work, please remember to hit the like, subscribe, and also share the video and comment. And Ben, I was gonna actually ask everyone if you guys want me to do, I do the E-mini, I've been doing it, and I brought in the cash index. But if you guys want me to do more work on the cash, let me know, because I kind of primarily focus on the futures market. But I we could easily do the cash as the primary, you know what I mean, and do the
Sure,
the futures as a separate, not spend so much time on it. So let us know in the comments, or anything else you want to comment about. It'll be great. All right, let's move on to bonds.
nice little false break there, huh?
Yeah, and I remember talking about that false break last week. I remember saying, hey, we could easily pick up, we're set up for a false break, we could take this out and reverse. And well, that's exactly what happened. And now, what's the, was that it? And I said, well, it could be it because we did 72 degrees, of a move. And also here we did a fairly clean 36-degree move. I would be looking for a lower high in bonds. So that's kind of what I'm focused on. Let's see. And I told you guys last week we have to hold above at least 124, ideally 125 before we start trading this on the long term.
Higher.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Trading it higher. So now that we got back into the square line, at this level, there's not much for us to do. And given that false break, we had good follow through. I'm thinking it's probably going to go lower, especially if
Yeah.
we, take out 124.
Yeah. I
But
mean, we had a good trade off the triangle break up.
mhm,
Now that's done with the, running into the full square and resistance. And now it's like, okay, let's see what the next setup is.
exactly, because we're not done, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that run was great, but now the fact that we couldn't hold above these two levels, we have to wait and see how that pans out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a normal move up, and we could look at this a corrective week, and to think that it's possible that we go up into the 28 level, and we have an ABCD that has a clean shot at the 50% of the square at 132. Hard to imagine, but hey, anything can happen. And the fact that we got this low squaring out, we want to be alert to the downside, but one step at a time. The fact that we couldn't really hold 125 is well, it's pointing to not exactly a blistering bull market in the bonds. It's a little bit soft.
Yeah.
So we'll work with that as it comes. But now
Hmm.
I think everybody's sort of wait and see mode, looks like.
You could see Sunday, Monday, the panic into bonds, and then it reversed. It was really something to watch
Mm,
because we were up like 2 points, and then we ended up down on the day. It was like a really strong reversal.
right, right. And it's a perfect false break.
Yep.
That entire trade would have been perfect.
Hmm.
All right, let's move on to crude.
Speaking of false breaks.
Yeah, and behaving well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were looking for a false break. We got the false break, and then we talked about how 73.50 is really the lower boundary. And if that lower holds, we're expecting it to basically the thing we've been doing for the last few months. 73.50, all right, 79.50 is the target. And then if we get above that, 83, then on to 91. So we're taking these in almost $10 increments. And that's really it. So with the lows in, and 79.50 is really where we're looking for it to go. If it breaks 79, obviously higher and higher yet. Now, let's take a look at the weekly because I think that's really where the sort of the story is. The story there is this triangle that we've been talking about every week.
Mm-hmm.
And the story is, well, we're at the lower end of the triangle. Yeah, we broke it by a little bit. Now let's see how we get to the other side. And the analysis is a little bit biased because we're kind of bullish on oil, but we're also watching the false break that happened here. So naturally, it'd be difficult to talk about this being bearish at this point because it's on our support. We cleared 73.50 by quite a bit, and we're at the bottom of the triangle, bottom of the zone that we marked out 2 months ago. So I'm
Uh,
expecting it to go back and test the upper side of the triangle and maybe even the upper side of the square, which is 88.
mhm.
And the triangle, if we can get up to the upside, it'll be that 81 level that we just talked about. So I think crude, I don't know, I feel like it's a good time to trade it because you know, if you try, yeah, it's not moving yet, but it's great to get warmed up because
Yeah,
because
and
it
the
could go
really
on a
interesting
short notice.
yeah, the really interesting thing I posted is that, we had that panic selling late Sunday, early Monday, and crude was down like a couple bucks, and it was looking like it was going to crash, and I always watch in those panics to see what can resist the selling, and
Mhm.
crude ended up green on the day.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you
And
told
it
me.
and it just hasn't looked back since, quietly, 50 cents, 70 cents up, had
Mhm.
one big day this week. But when you see that, it's I call it like the footprints of the big money. They kind of show you that they didn't really want to sell crude because they bought it right back up when the panic stopped.
Yeah.
So that was it present there. It was present in the grains, and it's really something to look out for when we see these market panics. See what resists the decline,
Mhm.
and it's going to show you what potentially could lead out when things let up when the panic's over.
And it's funny, like you said, it's quiet, 50 cents here, 30 cents there, and
Yeah, it's
and
like 59 cents today, but it's at almost 77 already.
but we did $5 for the week almost.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But it's very quietly stepping up.
So yeah, so we talked about that. That's kind of how you see that.
Hmm.
Moving on to gold. Gold also behaved fairly well at the 50% of the square.
It's
We started
really
using
nice.
this, pardon me?
Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. And we started using the low coming off October,
Hmm.
and it looks might as well just because the way it's behaving, it just looks like it should naturally just get up to 25.46 at least.
Yeah, that's a good square. It's a nice fit.
Yeah, it's yeah, it looks good to me.
Hmm.
And so the key here is to hold about the 50%, which we did fairly well. I think that was a good retest and a holding. And 24, 27 is the level we really want to be above. As long as that's in place, we can expect it to go up and test the 180, which is 25, 47, 48, right in that level.
Hmm.
And
Nice.
looking at the weekly, well, kind of like how you mentioned, what's happening in crude
Hmm.
here quietly. Look what's happening. We're getting above the 270-degree level
Yep.
and starting to be comfortable above the big square that we've had for years. So that's 50, 20, 24, 23, and 23. Okay, we're at 68 now. I would say it's very comfortable holding above that. And so that's something to watch. This is bullish, people. And then 27.50. I mean, if we clear that, I don't know when we'll get there, but the next real target is 27.80, 82. Anything you want to add to that, Ben?
It just looks like it's just waiting for the excuse to go.
Yeah, yep, yep.
And any weakness, somebody's buying it. Somebody's buying it. Somebody's buying it.
Yeah, it looks good, especially here. Buying came in after the initial panic. You can see how it
Hmm.
held really right above those levels. So it's good. Copper, on the other hand, sort of gave it up. And we really thought it would get into the ABCD, but we got close. Then again, it's not out of the woods either. We took out a very important level, this 405, 407 level here.
Yeah.
It would have been great if we were able to sit up here on top of it and then do some kind of a pattern to move higher, but we broke under it. So, I think at the time what I sort of said was if we take out the 405, 407 level, then it's a longer correction. So it looks like that's kind of what's happening. That being the case, and having the ABCD down at around 384, copper looks like it's got more weakness built in. And if everybody's concerned with economy slowing down and whatnot, this certainly makes sense, right, Ben?
Absolutely. And we have a weekly down bar, a monthly down bar so far, and I got my weekly full square at 399, so it's flirting with disaster there.
Yeah. And so to me, it looks like either we're going to get to the triangle trend line or we're coming back to the 365 level that really helped us in the past.
Hmm.
It just looks like that, mainly because, once the weekly took out this 424, 425, 424 level, and you can see how 2 weeks in a
Got
row we really couldn't
get,
get on top of it.
yeah,
It
just
was
got stuck under. Yep.
kind of a done deal.
Yep.
And we talked about it being much longer correction, right? That's the thing with all of these. If key levels get taken out while it's retaining some kind of a discernible pattern, then we have much longer corrections.
I mean, that's what the great thing about the levels is it tells us, okay, stand down and watch now. Just see how it sets up because it's not ready yet.
Yeah, not much. I don't think there's a whole lot to add. We'll watch copper next week and see how we come around.
Yep. The dollar.
Dollar went
Look at
right to
that,
our target.
man. Right to the target, right to the square.
Hmm.
Perfect.
And we got the false break.
Nice.
Everything well behaved.
Hmm.
This is what we want, right? We want everything to be well behaved, and this was great. We completed the ABCD right into
Whole
the
square.
and gave us a false break and immediately started moving higher. Not in great lengths, but given the sort of the character, not bad. Of course, now we have to deal with this level that we were calling support earlier. So this 103, 80, 82 level gets a little bit crucial now. So see if we can get on top and hold above that. So until that happens, dollar is going to be soft in here. It could be above this the 102.37, let's say 102.40 level. But up until we take out 103.82, it's it's going to be a little soft, mainly because of the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is after completing this ABCD, we should have been up there by now, given that we had 4 days to do it.
When you zoom out, you see what's going on too, a lot better. Like go to your weekly, and that's a similar pattern we're seeing in a lot of big markets. Triangles everywhere.
Everywhere. So these are all going to be loaded up and ready
Yeah.
any day now.
Yeah.
And we're at the lower boundary of it, and the trend
Right.
line held. Yeah, let's see how it works out.
And that's a nice one too, because you got a full square right there at the bottom of that triangle. So it respected both that and the triangle.
Yeah, let's see how the weekly works out. For now, not much, not
It's
much.
just winding up.
Let's take a look at the euro. Sort of the same thing we talked about last week. We talked about a potential false break. If we peak up there and kind of got it, but not a big follow through afterwards. But the key thing is we couldn't hold above. I mean, this little consolidation here, the 3-4 bar pattern, is not happening on top of the square. It's happening below the square.
That's right.
Like
Big difference.
109,500 is the price above, and we couldn't get above that. So everything's down here, down below. It doesn't mean anything either way, but I'm not super bullish on this until we can get a close above hold above the 144 level.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I just think it's going to be more consolidating kind of price action, but on a positive note because they're above the 108. I would leave it at that. We should be doing the yen.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of action there.
Mm-hmm. So in the long version, the weekly, we broke out of the triangle, but came right back into
Failed.
the forward.
Yep.
Failed. Yeah, failed. So this is a sort of a sneaky move, and let's see how it pans out. But for now, you guys, the idea is it's above 108. We can definitely get to 109, which was our old resistant level. It worked back in 23. So let's see how this pans out. I just feel like this is just going to consolidate and eventually turn down at some point. So watch it carefully. Watch the 108 level and watch the daily levels on that. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think you're spot on with the triangles on the weeklies and the bigger time frames. And you just got to let the energy build up, and then when they break, it's going to be a big, big move.
Yeah, there are big moves coming, so
They're coming.
Good time to watch these, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why I said even crude, it's coiling, but it's a good time to start watching it because once it breaks, you want to be very familiar with where it's been, and watching something that's about to break makes things easier. Let's see what else we have. Take a quick look at
Gas. I'm going to talk about gas.
You can talk about it, great. Because all I have to say is, hey, that was a very nice correction that held right above the key levels that we would expect it to hold.
Yep, pulled right back to support and reversed.
And starting to breathe some life. So
Mm-hmm.
it looks good. Didn't you cover, are you going to look at the monthly?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
I'll show monthly, weekly as well.
Yeah, okay. Then we have the Hang Seng, the one that didn't get beaten up too bad, surprisingly.
Right.
Anyway, we're still meddling around, nothing hugely positive here till we can get above the 17,115. That's a level to watch. So we talked about it in the past episodes, what happens when we took out 1854. We were expecting it to go here. We took that out and came right back into this big, consolidation area. Support up above that didn't hold. And it seems like the lower, the 1/3 level support here that they found here held again. But there's nothing hugely positive till we can get above that 50%. So we'll wait to see what happens. Especially if it gets below, which we're just under right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think more consolidation and corrective action. So which could be a lot more. So let's watch that. It's not out of the woods yet. All right, that's what I have. Anything else you want to add before we move on?
No, I think let's jump in to talk. Got some commodities to talk about today. So
all right. Sounds good. I'll put it back to you.
All right, Ben, we came right to the top of the square, just like we were planning last week.
Well, it's it's very interesting what we did this week, right? We went down to the bottom of the square, and now we're rallying back up right into this resistance zone. So a lot like you have with the S&Ps, the question is, right, where do we go from here? Are we going to roll over? So as you were discussing, the same thing we'll look here on a daily basis. We'll say on Sunday, Monday, do we take out the low or the high of this bar? Because that'll be the clue. Okay, we're going to continue up, come through this resistance, maybe get up into this full square up above 19,000. Or do we take out the low and start, and lose the half square and come back and do some retests down here? Both are a possibility, and we have to be open to both outcomes. So, but as you can see, we had the one by ones on the way up. Those have been violated, even retested here before we sold off hard. Uh, Found good support here. I mean, it is a higher low than the April low, so theoretically we could come up and potentially make another high. But there's a lot of overhead we got to get through, and a lot of
Right.
clues that we don't have yet from price action. But we'll be getting them every day. Fills in, gives us another clue, and we can see which way the odds tilt based on how those bars are revealed to us. Anything else to add here on the daily?
No, we're good. It's a clean call. That's what we have to deal with. It's right about the 50%. I think running up to the next square level, it wouldn't be a big problem.
No, because we're
Um,
we're finally clearing that half square, as you can see right there,
mhm.
today's bar. So let's see what happens.
Yep.
Sunday, Monday will give us some good clues as to which the next direction is going to be. Let's
Mhm.
take a look at the weekly. So the interesting thing about the weekly is we made a lower low, than the previous week, but we're closing near the high, and importantly, we're closing above this full square. A close below that, just like you were talking with some of the markets you cover,
Mhm.
if you actually get the close below, then you got to reassess. And here it's a 90, which is a big one. So the fact that it looks like we're going to close above it, with half an hour left,
Mhm.
is a positive thing for the bulls, as long as we can stay above this, call it 18,150 area. They're okay. And you could say, okay, this was the spike low, and now they're going to try and push up and maybe go up to this half square.
Mhm. But that
So
level is still important next week that we can hold
huge.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we want to see if we can get a bar fully on top of it. And then that's going to be something that says, all right, this rally might have some more legs, because the
Mhm.
weekly is showing that, it wants to push up here to around 20,000. So let's see what happens. Let's take a
Yep.
quick look at the monthly.
Mhm.
Monthly, we've got another marker, and look where, I mean, we have 2-3 weeks left before we're closing this bar, so a lot of price action. But you can see this 18,770. We definitely want to see, the bulls definitely want to see a monthly close over that, and the bears want to see a monthly close under it. Pretty key level. Anything to add on the weekly, monthly?
Well, it's a pretty deep correction, and we looked at on the weekly S&P, that was kind of a measured move, and this didn't quite correct an entire square, but it could happen in the future. So
Yeah. Yep. We just got to
mhm.
see how it plays out. Let's jump over to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been interesting because everybody's making, major prognostications. Oh, we're going to this, or we're going to crash to this.
Mhm.
And look what we're doing, man. We're just basically torturing both sides.
Well, we're making lower lows, so
Yep. And lower highs,
hmm
but we're still in this channel.
hmm
And you can see this came down. We've had this hashed area for a long time,
yeah, the zone.
and we just came down and tested it.
I guess long as it's above that, we can just bounce along, and it's key thing is to see if we break that 50,000 and get
Yeah,
under that square.
yeah, on the downside, we definitely want to get under the 50,000,
That's
but
right.
it'll show up easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the downside, absolutely, we got to get below 50,000. That's the key for there. And the upside, we really want to close over this half square.
Yeah.
Getting above that half square will give us, okay, we're up and out. We're ready to go. Let's zoom out a little bit and just take a look at the monthly. And this is why I'm not super bearish. I mean, look where all this is taking place, Barry. It's like right at these highs from 2020 and
Yeah.
2021 and
Mm-hmm.
2022, that area. That's not a bearish thing, big picture.
Mm-hmm.
And look at each of these, candles has a pretty big wick too. So
Yeah.
they buy it up when it comes down into this area. So
And the body area has been holding pretty
fairly
steady.
steady. Yeah, look at that. Like
Mhm.
big there to there, basically a quarter square, right?
Yep. Exactly.
So as long as we're above, say, 54,000
Mm-hmm.
monthly close above there, you got to like it because it means we're just sitting right here. So
Yeah.
that's my view on Bitcoin. Let's jump over to the commodities. On today's show, we're gonna cover wheat, silver, crude, and nat gas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, crude you covered, so I just want to show a couple things there. Nat gas you went into. I want to show the weekly, monthly, and how those are shaping up.
Yeah.
The softs. The interesting thing is, and you'll see this in some of the commodities we actually review, but in the softs, like I saw 3 out of the 4 had false breaks in them. They
Mm.
just haven't set up enough yet to say, okay, it's bullish, let's get in them. But there's the false breaks are starting to come into these markets, and we know, and we've repeated many times on this show, a lot of big moves in commodities start with a false break and then they make the big move in the other direction. So it's a pattern that we look for, which we're beginning to see take shape.
Mm-hmm.
First one is wheat.
Right.
Here's your false break. And see how we've kind of quietly and slowly just been pushing up.
Mm-hmm.
This big bar here, right here, that was the panic Monday. They sold it off hard and closed it positive for the day. And ever since then, it's been, backing and filling and just pushing a little bit.
And
But
got on top
this,
of the
yeah,
534.
yeah, and the 534 is a new harmonic balance point. So that's an important price. And it's sitting on top of it. The real interesting and sort of eye-opening thing is look at the weekly and look at the monthly. So the thing I wanted to show you on the weekly is, so this week we have a reversal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We made a
Absolutely.
higher high and a higher low. We got a reversal. And look at where the low came in. I mean, you can really see the false break here, right? There's a false break last week. And then here we reverse.
Mm-hmm.
But look at where the lows came in. You look back to 2018, 2019, 2020, all along this half square,
Mm-hmm.
there were previous highs. And now we're coming back and checking that. And
Yep.
we got a weekly reversal. So
Mm-hmm.
wheat may be leading the grains, out of the forest and the fog.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at the monthly. Similar
Ooh.
picture, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
See this? This is the area that I'm talking about where all this support is.
Yeah. I see it.
Even goes back to like 96, 95, 96 area
Mm-hmm.
in 1995. The other thing on the monthly, in '08 during the great financial crisis,
Mm-hmm.
high to low, 28 months. Here,
Mm-hmm.
high to low, 28 months.
Ooh.
And that would be with that false break low we got at the end of July.
Yeah. I think
So
it's time to really watch wheat here.
it is time to keep your eyes on wheat.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I believe it's making the turn. We closed green on wheat today, so
Mm-hmm.
it's corn and beans aren't ready yet. They're kind of working, finishing up this correction and
Mm-hmm.
making some false breaks, but there's been no reversal. Wheat actually got the reversal, and you can see from the bigger time frames. I think good things are going to happen for wheat. All right, let's go look at silver. We talked about this for the last few weeks, as silver's been doing this correction, right? We had this nice move up, squared out here, on a bigger picture, like a weekly. I think we did 90 weeks. And then we said, okay, we're going to get some sort of correction. You can see we did an A, B, C, D. But importantly, look at where we came. We came into the full square and then look left.
Yeah.
Low here, high
Mhm.
here,
Yep.
high here, right? That's really good structural support. It's on a full square, and we got a nice reversal. We came down, hit it. Next day, hit it again, and then boom, a big reversal up. Today, an inside day. This to me looks loaded. Let's go to the weekly and the monthly so you can see what we see
It's
there.
definitely a clean, very nice looking check back on the breakout level.
It's a good correction, good pullback, nice sort of meandering three wave ABCD down and checking back the breakout. Here's your weekly. Look at where the weekly close is setting up to be. That's a key spot on a weekly basis, 27.5, right? We want to stay on top of that half square or the full square, because when we're on top of that full square, we're above all of this
Yeah.
and essentially sitting on these highs.
This is also a check back on that big triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an important level, important time.
Yeah. Yep. And we do have weekly timing there too.
Yeah.
So let's look at the monthly. Monthly gives you the same view, a little tighter. Look at this pullback right to the full square and checking all this. So if this thing actually gives us a monthly reversal, huge. Then it's off to the races on the bigger time frames, and that's
$50.
that's when right. That's when you get the powerful
Yeah.
moves. Yeah. Anything else to add on silver?
No, it's perfect. No, I think these pullbacks to recheck a breakout is really important. So it's important time to watch silver.
And you throw in geometry like a 45, it's like icing on the cake.
Yep.
So I like the way silver's acting. All right, let's check out crude. You did a good review of crude. I just want to show a couple things. So here's, as Barry described it on his daily, there's your false break, right? We had this triangle since, last September it started, really. That's a long one, right?
Yep.
False break, reversed, and then just quietly pushing up and closing near the highs every day, last 3 days. That's the daily. Barry showed you the daily. Let's look at weekly, monthly.
There you go.
How about that for a weekly candle?
Looks good. And the right area. Everything's lined up.
Mm-hmm. And remember, the big moves that come out of these weekly, monthly triangles, they're massive and powerful. The break from here will be one to be long on for sure. Let's look at the monthly.
Now that looks good.
Yeah, there's your monthly triangle. And remember, this triangle, the low here in this triangle tested this right here.
Yeah.
Right. Full square. It's 52 that I'm running here. And then it was checking, all this up here.
Yeah, line that's active for 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's true. Going back to before the great financial crisis, before that run up, and then after it, they got on top of this and made another run. So it's a pretty important area that we tested, in 23, and it's 65 area, 64.50. And now we're getting higher lows, lower highs, it's coiling up. I mean, and you can see there's not a lot of time left in this triangle.
Exactly.
We got 1, 2, 3 months, maybe max 2-3 months. Watch the move coming out of here. And if it breaks to the downside, we'll get on it on the downside because it could be a doozy. It's just right now, looking at the structure and the way the setup is, odds favor a higher break. But, we're not blind to the fact that it could break the other way too and be just as powerful. But the crude looks good. And as I said, Barry did a good review on that. Wanted to just show you the monthlies there, mainly. Let's go to nat gas.
Yeah, good.
Here's gas. This harmonic balance point, remember, this came in. This came in on Sunday, man. What a price, huh?
Really good, yeah.
I mean, look at that. Even going back here. So anyway, the bottom line, Barry showed this. The bottom line is we came down, we had a nice push up, first pullback, major pullback, came right to support, and we have a big reversal working. This is what you want to see. You want to see the reversal to know, okay, something's going on here. So there's your reversal. Let's go to the weekly. Look familiar? Big triangle on one of the higher time frames, right?
Yep.
And so why am I showing it now if we're stuck in this triangle? Because look, we're at the bottom rail. Let's say we just trade back. We don't break out, but we just trade back up to the upper rail, over the next month or so.
Yeah, it's a huge move.
$3.
Yeah.
290 to 290, $3. Big move. Let's look at the monthly.
This is my favorite.
Yeah, you look because you love these patterns, right? And these triangles.
Well, I mean, look at the chart, right? We know we're not in a sell area.
No, this is the first time we came down here, we talked about this. We said, look, we don't have a reversal. We've got no time frames are showing, bullish, but look at where you are historically. And this is not going back, like 6 months. This is into the 90s. This price has been value. So the fact that it's triangulating on a weekly, monthly basis, again, it's building up pressure and thrust that when it goes, it's going to go. And it's going to give a nice move.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that's it for me on the commodities. I think, Barry, if we do quickly, maybe just a quick 5 minutes or so on patterns, right? The triangles, clear pattern in the market that we like and we try to find. When looking at the commodities, we look for a pattern where there's a false break that triggers a move in the opposite direction. Are there any other patterns that you want to introduce or highlight that you watch and you use on a regular basis?
Well, some of the patterns I like on a regular basis would be the diffuse line patterns that we have. And all the descriptions and examples are pinned. It's in the pinned message on X.
Right.
And those are, some of those are old familiar patterns. Some are, things we saw how price interacts with the fuse line. That's one. But I would say, I think triangles and ABCDs are very common, right? I think those are very, very common, and it's more common than you would think. Maybe do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead. Just quickly show one and go over a few, and we'll see if people like it. We will do more of this pattern recognition stuff.
Okay, hold on. Can you see this one?
Yeah, there's
you can? Okay, copper.
Copper, yep. Copper
So
weekly.
I'll just go back. Let's go back to, this is weekly copper. Let's just go back to 15 years or so.
Right.
Well, one of the things that came up at that high we recently looked at was that 216 week high, remember?
Yep.
And so this kind of a decline, decline is not surprising. But just to talk about, like a few things that we talk about a lot are, we talk about inside bars, we talk about reversals, we talk about false breaks, triangles and ABCDs are, probably like our go-to. And the reason is because they show up all the time. Speaking of triangles, okay, well, let's pick one out. And so here's one.
Yep, for sure.
Right there. There's a triangle. And here's another one.
Yep.
And these happen, in different time frames. And so you can look at, the markets that you're trading. And as you get used to looking at them, you'll see which ones to accept as a triangle and which ones are not quite triangles. You know what I mean? And you'll see how each market has its own. So I just want to mark out a couple and then talk about how they might have. Okay, so there are some. So these are easy triangles. These are, I'm just looking at it since. So there you go. So the key here is, look, every time we had a breakout, the move that followed was huge. Let's take the one in 2008, we broke the triangle, and 2 weeks later, here's our first counter trend right into the
Perfect test.
yeah, and inside bar, and then boom. So a lot of these things we talk about, if you guys can chain it together, you have, it's probably all the setups that you ever need to learn about. And here's another one, yeah, sure, there are triangles here. There's a triangle right there that they broke out to the upside. See that? And on a daily, you can probably see it
wider.
Wider and a little bit more clear. And here's another one. One of the things you really want to pay attention to is when a triangle breaks and it comes back for a check like it did right there.
Yep.
And right there. And we didn't pick these out ahead of time. I'm just marking them up now. So here's another triangle, and it
There's
broke
a check
inside
back.
bar, outside reversal, but you can see how the top was right in there, right? And here's a triangle that broke. We had 1 week to get in, and then it was gone again. Finishes this one. Then we broke to the upside one more time. So triangles are one of my favorites. It really kind of depends on the time frame, because you want to make sure the following move has enough space to run. Something like this copper, especially when it's coming off the extremes, the highs or lows that are in place, they're nice to trade. But these are some of the things, they're very simple. They're not, we can do ABCDs next time, but I'm just looking at it, casually looking at it. You can see like we have triangles way more often than we might imagine.
And you truly just picked copper randomly because we did not talk about let's show copper before the show. I can honestly attest to that.
No, we didn't know. We didn't pick one out.
Right.
Actually, I wasn't even sure we were going to do anything today.
Right.
But let's take a look at crude. I mean, here's another market we can talk about. Now, weekly, because of the way I have the scale set up, they might be hard for you to see, but they're still present as far as the triangles go. So let's go for one here, which is easy, low hanging fruit here. So there's a triangle. You can see it breaks. Then we have an inside bar, and this, especially when they break and they go quiet, that you really want to watch them. And then here's the break. And then it went on into the final bottom. So the thing is, they don't happen all the time, but they happen often enough where you want to kind of watch that and be able to trade it. I mean, here's another different type of a triangle, but here's another one.
Yeah, the flat bottom. But the point is that when they form, you want to pay attention.
Absolutely. As soon as you get the first inkling, like there's a triangle forming, you want to take it. Like here, initially you would have seen this, right? Or you would have seen a flat top, and you'd have to watch this and trade accordingly. But you got it trapped. You saw it, and then you work with it and see how it moves. Anyway, the nice thing about triangle is you have very clear line of engagement. If it's within, okay, it's still working the triangle, and very clearly where it's going to come out. So it's a practical way to look at things, because the entry or the breakout level is clearly marked. You don't have to guess.
And the second thing it does for you, if you can identify these triangles early enough, is it keeps you out of the chop.
Yes.
Exactly,
right?
You know not to mess around in there, or if you're going to do it, you got to play the extremes for mean reversion. So it's a really good pattern to recognize. So Barry, thanks for doing that. I'm interested in feedback from you guys, as we said earlier. Of course, we want you to like, subscribe, share the videos, set the alerts up, but also make comments about the type of content you want at the end after we're done doing the sort of the weekly market review and the preview of next week. We'll do these little 5 or 10-minute segments. I just bring up topics that I think would be helpful for people, but we certainly are open to suggestions. So great job on the show, Barry. Good review. We've gotten through the panic, and now in the major markets and these few commodities, we know the important levels to watch and where the edge is, which side the edge is on based on where price is. So good job, and we'll see. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Ben. Very Very well done. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.